right, so it appears that Tulsi Gabbard is getting into a pretty serious back and forth with Mitt Romney. And so this is because Tulsi Gabbard demands retraction of Romney treason accusation. So obviously, as you guys know, Tulsi Gabbard has done this weird flip where now she's like a Fox News darling. Although she was a Fox News darling even back in like 2014. I think she was like the token Democrat that would come on and shit on Obama basically and the Iran deal and that kind of stuff. So maybe it's not so much of a change. I don't know. But she's done a complete 180. She's kind of shown her true colors. It's only a matter of time until she gets a job on Fox News, unless instead of that she takes she could take like a lobbyist job where she makes like six figures. But I would imagine more so, it's more likely she's going to get a Fox News job. It seems like the kind of person that Fox News would want, the Democrat that shits on Democrats. And so, you get paid handsomely for doing that. So I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. I'm pretty shocked. But it says here, former Representative Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat Hawaii, sent a cease and desist letter to Senator Mitt Romney over a March tweet in which he alleged her statements were, quote, treasonous lies and said she was, quote, parroting false Russian propaganda. In a tweet on Wednesday, Gabbard shared that she had sent cease and desist letters to Romney and former television personality Keith Olbermann over their statements, quote, asserting that Gabbard was parroting false Russian propaganda. When powerful, influential people make baseless accusations of treason, a crime punishable by death, in order to intimidate, silence, and censor those who speak the truth, it has a chilling effect on our democracy, she said. This cannot go unchecked, Gabbard added. In an appearance on Fox News on Wednesday, Gabbard reiterated her statement and said, quote, when powerful and influential people basically threaten and intimidate people into silence as Mitt Romney is doing, they're hoping to achieve that effect that if anybody dares speak out against the government or criticize whatever the permanent Washington establishment narrative is, then you will be smeared as a treasonous traitor. The letters demand that both Romney and Olbermann seize these false, defamatory, and malicious claims, and that they, quote, retract/take down all such statements made about Gabbard and destroy all copies of those statements. Gabbard's attorneys added that both Romney and Olbermann have until April 27th to confirm that they will comply with these demands to indicate whether they will enter into a settlement. It appears that Romney has not responded. So it looks like Gabbard had sent out a tweet, like a false tweet, saying that there are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. So, apparently those claims are unsubstantiated. So she's, I guess, kind of being one of those, Russia sympathizers. There's a lot of those people. Even as, like, Ukraine is being bombed. It's kind of bizarre. But anyways, It's actually a pretty serious situation when you look at it. And so what you can see here is this appears to be Mitt Romney's tweet. He said, Tulsi Gabbard is parroting false Russian propaganda. Her treasonous lies may well cost lives. So I don't like Tulsi Gabbard at all, like not even a little bit. But I have to agree with her in that this is actually really dangerous. This is super dangerous territory that you're entering. And I really do not support saying this. Obviously treason is like, betraying your country and essentially supporting another country over the survival of yours. So it's like, it is like considered the biggest crime of all, treason, right? But I think constitutionally speaking, like law-wise, legally, constitutional law-wise, the bar to actually reach treason would have to be like literally aiding and abetting the enemy, which would literally be like providing weapons to them or something like that. It's not, I don't think you could do it with any of your words. And this is super dangerous too because, this is something that I saw also in Deutschland, right? Like they're banning the use of the Z symbol. Like you can't just ban speech like that because it's about a war that you find to be really important. Free speech is super important, and also you got to keep in mind what happens when it's the Iraq War and now anything you say to criticize the United States' intervention in Iraq as, treasonous lies. Like you're being accused of something that carries the death penalty and is, generally speaking, treason is considered to be the worst crime possible. I don't think that there's a crime that's considered worse than treason because, you are helping the another country, essentially exterminate or end your country, right? Your sovereignty as a nation, which is considered to be the most sacred thing. Period. I don't think there's anything more important or sacred, to the point where the Constitution is clear and case law is clear that when things like that start to threaten, something like a pandemic, certain protections against, like, for example, a forced quarantine are waived because it's a risk of the nation. And so this is a heavy debate, but I definitely am in agreement with Tulsi Gabbard, and I think we all need to call out the use of this being called treasonous. If you want to say Tulsi Gabbard is parroting false Russian propaganda, that's fine, but you have to be careful as to not use a word like that, because it's the most serious crime. It doesn't meet the actual bar for treason. Treason would have to be like literally not with your words, but actually aiding the enemy and giving them weapons and stuff like that, constitutionally speaking. And it is dangerous because genuinely, like, at that point, anytime you are somebody who's not in lockstep with whatever the status quo political belief is, or whatever the politically correct belief is, or whatever the mainstream belief is, you're a treasonous traitor. If you don't support the war in Iraq or Afghanistan, you're a treasonous traitor. No, that's not what it is at all. And in Germany, like, I saw they're banning the Z. And it's like, holy shit, like, dude, you can't just ban stuff like that. Now, their argument probably is, we're near, Russia, obviously. And so, like I said earlier, that ending of the state is the most sacred thing. And so, it's treason. But we really have to be strong in protecting our free speech rights. And this is really dangerous, because now you're talking about, okay, anytime you're not in agreement with whatever the White House is doing or saying, you're a treasonous traitor. And genuinely, this is something that happened a lot during the war on terror and all of the unjustified, military interventions and operations. And so that's why it's so important to maintain free speech. This is not a whataboutism fallacy or anything like that. It's just an important thing to keep in mind. And again, like I said, you think it was easy to oppose the Iraq war in 2003? No, like, people would lose their jobs. Like, you would be taken off the air. You would lose your job. You were, ostracized, all of that kind of stuff. And so I think we need to make sure that we don't allow this kind of a thing to happen. So shockingly, I am in agreement with Tulsi Gabbard here.